What's up guys and welcome back to Sablehound. It's been 1 week since Cold War Season 3 has gone live, and today I'll be going over the changes in gameplay and movement, and my thoughts on the new maps Yamantau and Diesel, as well as the new game modes Sticks and Stones, the PPSH, and the Strafe Run. The first and probably the most discussed change is the nerf of the slide cancel in the pre-release update. If you didn't know, in Modern Warfare 2019 the slide cancel consisted of pressing your slide button, then pressing it once more at the desired distance, which canceled the slide, and then you immediately press jump to recover from that crouched position. It essentially allowed you to slide around corners, and the sequence of actions made it so that you had a better chance to counter anyone holding a corner or see them before they see you. However, in Cold War, although the movement is far less dynamic just in general, we still had a slide cancel, and it was arguably probably a little bit easier to execute in this game than Modern Warfare 2019. You would essentially follow the same sequence, however, rather than pressing jump, you would just simply aim down sight and it would pop you up and recover you from that crouch position. So it's a little bit more fluid and kind of intuitive. So a lot of players were doing it without maybe even noticing that they were doing it. And what the update did was essentially made it so that when you did slide cancel, recovering from that crouch position took far longer. Now it seems as though, and I think this has been confirmed by a few other creators and pros, that they did pull back on the nerf a bit. So it's not as devastating to your momentum, but it is a nerf nonetheless. And I think overall this new update made SMGs and aggressive movement-based players far less effective. So if you look at the pro scene, for instance, a player like Shotzi, who is known for his mastery of movement, would be drastically affected by this change. And it seems as though the community was somewhat split on this nerf. Some people were unhappy with it and others were ecstatic. Specifically, a lot of the pros were very happy about this change, but I personally did not like this change. I think what I love most about Modern Warfare 2019 is that the movement was so dynamic and it allowed for a wide variety of playstyles. And with that variety in playstyle comes a skill gap that I think is necessary in the world of heavily weighted skill-based matchmaking. Skill gaps are not a bad thing because it gives you something to continue to work on and keeps the game interesting and fresh, whereas in Cold War the movement is very limited relative to Modern Warfare. There are some differences like the ledge slide and the jump abilities. I would say you can jump a lot higher in this game, but it's safe to say that Cold War feels like a usual FPS, whereas Modern Warfare was just on a whole nother level, and I think its popularity is a testament to that. Barring, of course, a pandemic, it was just very different. With this change, though, I'm glad that they reversed it a touch, although I still miss the old movement. But moving on to the new maps, we have Yamantau, which is the first truly new map we've received since the beginning of Season 2 with the release of Apocalypse. I don't really count Miami Strike because it's not really a new map, although I will commend them on changing it enough to feel very different than the original Miami. But Yamantau is all around a fairly good map. It's reminiscent of Summit from the original Black Ops, which I've heard a lot of people say as well. It's a medium-sized map, most comparable to maybe Garrison in terms of size and lines of sight. You get a good mix of opportunities for both close and long-range engagements. One thing I do love about this map is just the sheer variety of routes that you can take, which allows for more strategic plays, right? Although it's not nearly as large as Miami, it reminds me of just the amount of routes that you can take to get from point A to point B in Miami, for instance, without the giant open areas. And although by all accounts it is still a 3-lane map, those lanes are split up into sub-lanes, which make it a lot harder to hold down any one lane or power position, which is great because you aren't encountering as many campers, and all the obvious power positions and camping spots are exposed from a minimum of maybe 3 sides, and flanking on this map is very effective. Now, as for the negative aspects of this map, because there are so many small rooms and sublanes, you will always encounter a rat or two just sitting in a corner waiting for people to come by. The other thing is the helicopter pad spawn is very susceptible to spawn trapping, but they did create a cliff path which actually allows you to flank the enemies who are just sitting at the bottom of the hill picking your team off. So that's kind of cool to see. It keeps it fresh. But overall, it's a good map. I wouldn't say it's great. I actually really liked Apocalypse way more, but Yamantau is still a better map than, let's say, Satellite or Cartel. I definitely enjoy this map a lot more than maybe most of the maps that we got when the game first launched. Now, moving on to Diesel, I'm somewhat confused about this map because on the roadmap and even in-game, when you click on the info box for this map, it indicates that it's a 6v6 map, but the 24/7 playlist is only 3v3. And I also haven't had it come up in the map rotation, but it seems as though other people are getting it in the 6v6 map rotation. So if you did end up coming across it at any point, let me know in the comments below how it plays. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? That said, it's also a good, maybe not great map. It would honestly be a great map that would rival Nuketown, except I feel as though the top side of the map is completely wasted and underutilized because it's just a wide open road with a sniper's nest at the end of it. And what that does is not only encourages snipers camping at that top area, but it also pushes all of the action to the bottom side of the map, kind of the junkyard side area, which in 3v3 is fine, but in a 6v6 situation could get a little bit dicey. It just felt as though a lot of the design energy went to the bottom side of the map, kind of where the junkyard area is, and they neglected that street side of the map. I would have loved to see a little bit more cover or something that can counter that sniper's nest. Sure, you can hop on the top oil tanker, and there are some cars in there, but if you hop on the top oil tanker, anyone in that nest is going to see you before you can even get your gun up. So it's not ideal, but I will say though, the gunfights in the center gas station area are super fun. But again, it's very junkyard side heavy, because if you're engaged in a gunfight in the gas station area, you're likely going to be picked off by someone with an AR or a sniper from the street side. And it's incredibly annoying when you're enjoying a gunfight in that area, kind of weaving in and out of doors and openings, and you get picked off by someone who's not really engaged in the actual fighting. They're just sitting in the back of the spawn aiming down sights. But scenery wise, I really like this map. I think it's up there with Apocalypse as far as just being cool to look at. It's very beautiful. This is just a fun map in general. So it's, again, good, not great map. Now, moving on to weapons and score streaks, we had the addition of the PPSH, which is an SMG that is included in Season 3, so it is free with or without the Battle Pass. And I unlocked just about everything needed to control the recoil on the PPSH, which is kind of the biggest issue with this gun. But I also found myself getting frustrated and switching back to the LC-10 because it just can't compete, specifically at range. Mid-range gunfights seem to be the sweet spot for this gun, especially in situations where there are multiple enemies kind of lined up or in a general area. It does come out on top because of its fire rate. I mean, I'll keep playing with it and tinkering with the attachments until I find something I like, but the LC-10 still feels like the ideal SMG for me. I feel confident with that gun taking those long-range gunfights, whereas the PPSH can sometimes feel inconsistent. Like, I never know if I'm going to win a gunfight or not because it's almost like luck of the draw. Overall, I'd say try it out. Moving on to the Strafe Run, which is a new score streak that we got. I've only used it a couple times, and surprisingly, I liked it. It is very OP. The main thing to note, though, when using the Strafe Run, it doesn't always attack the area that you mark on the tablet. Exclusive Ace, who makes great content, made a great overview, which I'll link in the description below, but a good enough percentage of its attack path does land where you mark for it to be, so it's fairly effective. It also lasts for 30 seconds, which is a fair amount of time when a game is coming down to the wire and you need to capture an objective, whether it's a flag or a hard point. It can come in clutch in those situations. Keep in mind, the only way to destroy it is with an air patrol. Launchers do not work on them. So, I mean, for now, it's a pretty great score streak to use. Finally, we got a new game mode, or not a new game mode. They brought back Sticks and Stones. And to be honest, it has been my way of escaping some of the irritation I've had with Cold War these days. I mean, it is a lot of fun. If you've never played Sticks and Stones, it's a free-for-all game mode where you're only given a crossbow with, I think, 5 arrows, a tactical knife as your secondary, and a tomahawk. If you get tomahawked or you tomahawk someone, it's considered a humiliation, and they or you, whoever gets tomahawked, loses all their points and they start back at 0, which is hilariously frustrating when you're at the top of this leaderboard and then you get tomahawked. It's a fun game mode, and I mean, I hopped on with a buddy who is also not a crossbow user really, and he and I were both having a blast. It's definitely been the saving grace of this season thus far, to be honest. I really have been enjoying it and kind of primarily playing Sticks and Stones the last couple days, but overall, Season 3 is a step in the right direction. I think after Standoff is released, it will feel like an actual game in terms of map count, but I honestly think the thing that is hurting this game is the slow trickle of content. But really, I mean, we're at the halfway point of the life cycle of the game, and it's just now feeling a little bit more complete with this new season. So it's definitely worth checking out. I am super excited for Standoff because it is one of my favorite maps of all time, but I would also love to see some more new maps come out, like just fresh, new, original maps. But those are my thoughts on Season 3. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. How do you feel about the movement change, and how do you like some of the new content with this new season? If you found the video helpful or interesting at all, please consider leaving a like. I'll be making more strategy videos and Call of Duty League analysis, as well as overviews of various kind of Call of Duty subjects. So if you would like some more of that content, please do subscribe and let me know what you would like to see more of. But with that, this was Sablehound. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Hey, I want to be famous.